Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Be it resolved that Parliament, by affirmative resolution, approves the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedule 2 order, which amends Schedule 2 of the Act in Item 2CC to delete as exempt supplies the goods under the following customs tariff headings: backs and necks of the fowls of the species. Chicken back of the fowls of the species Gallus domesticus frozen. All I have to say, Mr. Speaker, is chicken back. Necks and backs. Wings of fowls of the species Gallus domesticus frozen. Chicken wings. Other cuts of the meat of the species Gallus domesticus frozen. Potatoes other than seed potatoes, fresh or chilled. Tomatoes, fresh or chilled. Onions, fresh or chilled. Garlic, fresh or chilled. Cabbages, fresh or chilled. Carrots, fresh or chilled. Other edible roots, fresh or chilled. Cucumber, fresh or chilled. Celery other than celeriac, fresh or chilled. Pumpkins, fresh or chilled. Okras, fresh or chilled. Lentils, dried, shelled, whether not skinned or split. Pigeon peas, dried, shelled, whether not skinned or split. Avocados, fresh or dried. Mangoes, fresh or dried. Oranges, fresh or dried. Lemons, fresh or dried. Limes, fresh or dried. Watermelons, fresh or dried. Pawpaws, fresh. Canned tuna in containers, more than 6 ounces. Canned tuna in containers, 6 ounces or less. Canned mackerel in containers, 200 grams or less. Mr. Speaker, last year, we understood the issues as it relates to the cost of living. And we agreed that certain sectors or certain income groups were feeling the pinch more than others as it relates to the cost of living. So we made certain adjustments. We removed service charge on the basket of goods. We removed duties on goods we could, taking into consideration what we had to do as far as our common external tariff obligations are concerned. We also subsidized directly the Minister of Commerce, flour, etc., Mr. Speaker, just to reduce the impact of the cost of living on certain goods, Mr. Speaker. But after analysis, and I must commend the Chamber of Commerce for helping us in this regard, we decided that the economy was strong enough to absorb the loss of revenue that would accrue when we had removed VAT on certain items. So we listed 70 items, Mr. Speaker. The 70 items, we removed the VAT of 12.5% on these 70 items. And that had an immediate impact on the cost of living. And I made it clear, and members always made it clear, that we are price takers. We are price takers. We do not control the price outside. We do not control the cost of goods outside. Nobody here, nobody in this room, Mr. Speaker, has any control of the price of goods outside of this country. When goods come here, the cost comprises of several things. The cost of the price, the cost of the purchase, the shipping cost, the insurance cost, all these things come here, and when they come here, it's called free on board, FOB cost. And then you apply the import duties and the VAT, etc., to cause it to get to a price for the consumer, and then the merchant puts his markup. So there are several things we could not control, Mr. Speaker. So what we did is we looked at these 70 items and we removed the VAT. And we made it clear that the cost of these goods would decrease once the price, it did not increase from abroad. And true to form, Mr. Speaker, many goods, the price to the consumer was reduced, Mr. Speaker, because of the government's direct intervention. The cost of these goods went down, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, in the VAT business, there is something called zero-rated goods and exempt goods. And as usual, they try to deliberately confuse the public on the difference between zero-rated and exempt. A deliberate attempt to confuse the public for political gain. Praise God, the public is smarter. A deliberate attempt. So they confuse and they mix exempt and zero. Mix it together to come out with something to blame the government. The member for Soufre, the Minister of Commerce at the time, she made it clear that there's a difference between exempt items and zero-rated items. And let me say it again, Mr. Speaker. Exempt items, the merchant pays the VAT, but the customer does not. So it cannot be charged again. What that means is that in the VAT returns, they cannot claim for the VAT on exempt items. Right, Minister of Commerce? That basically what it is. That's what it is. But again, they try to confuse the public. What that means is when the merchant is costing his goods, he spreads the cost over all the items, including those that are exempt. So what the merchant told us is if they have to spread the costs over all the items, Mr. Speaker. And that means that even though the consumer does not pay VAT directly in the costing, the merchant has to include the exempt VAT on all the goods in the store. So that caused the price to increase, Mr. Speaker. So after discussions, we said that we are going to look at the list of goods that are exempt but not zero-rated. And that means we would have converted these exempt goods into zero-rated items, so they will pay no VAT, period, no VAT. So that means neither the consumer nor the merchant would have paid VAT, Mr. Speaker. And all things being equal, the cost of these goods are supposed to go down also. The minister was at pains to discuss that. But there was an anomaly because mangoes and carrot and cucumber and things sold by local farmers also became VAT exempt. They were VAT exempt also. So you paid no VAT on them, but they had to pay. They were no VAT, but they were exempt. So that means the same thing related to them. So right now, all these goods, local produce goods, they are VAT free and they're not exempt goods any longer. So the price of these things also supposed to go down, as the minister said a while ago, Mr. Speaker. So that is what this resolution is doing. It is amending the schedule, Mr. Speaker, to cause all these goods that were previously exempt goods to now become zero-rated goods. And that is why you have all these fruits and vegetables there, Mr. Speaker, because before they were exempt, but they were not zero-rated. And that is the reasoning behind that resolution. And hopefully, Mr. Speaker, again, once the prices do not go up from abroad, once the prices are not increased abroad, Mr. Speaker, the cost of these goods to the consumer should come down, Mr. Speaker. And that is what this is all about, Mr. Speaker. Again, the government's promise, using the tools it has at its disposal to reduce the cost of living for the people of St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, and that is done for everybody. Because when people oppose these things, Mr. Speaker, Everybody benefits, because when you go to the supermarket, no matter who you are, no matter if you have a red tie or blue tie, Mr. Speaker, the cost of no tie at all, the cost of goods will go down for you. So there's these things, there's no reason why we have to take these initiatives and try to distort them, Mr. Speaker, because everybody will benefit. So with that amendment, Mr. Speaker, we hope that the cost of these goods will also be decreased. And there are some very interesting things that Mr. Speaker, canned tuna, lentils. People always spoke about these items, and then they said to us, but there's no VAT. And why hasn't the price gone down? Because, Mr. Speaker, they were zero rated, but they were exempt supplies, so the consumer did not pay the VAT, but the merchants still paid the VAT, Mr. Speaker. So I want to again commend the Minister of Commerce, Mr. Speaker, and the Ministry of Commerce for working very hard on these items, Mr. Speaker. And we did get cooperation from the Chamber of Commerce. We didn't get cooperation from them. Sometimes the negotiations were tough because these guys they had to make money. So, but the negotiations were tough, Mr. Speaker. But in the final analysis, good sense prevailed, and the patience and the commitment of the Minister for Commerce and the staff of the Ministry of Commerce, and with the endorsement and the single purpose of the cabinet to ensure that the people of this country, that they could enjoy a higher quality of life and don't get the blows that inflation all over the world, Mr. Speaker. Then you have to have the issue of tariffs, which the new Minister of Commerce will have to deal with. The issue of tariffs. Today, the Foreign Minister from the Bahamas is telling me that there are tariffs on lobsters, and that affects the exports of lobsters from the Bahamas because there are tariffs on lobsters. I guess one day, if tariffs are imposed, they'll blame Pierre. Mr. Speaker, that may happen, Mr. Speaker. So it's a very dynamic situation, and then the Minister of Commerce has his work cut out for him, because he has to be continuously monitoring these things and looking at what's happening, because anything happens abroad. The price of oil, the price of gas is a big story about the price. I think we control the price of gas there, Mr. Speaker. There was an incident last week in the region. Automatically there was a slight spike in the cost of oil. There was a spike because of that action. Nothing to do with us, but we suffer from it. So when people make these statements as if governments have direct control over the cost of living, and it's because we're not doing this and that with the cost of living, I can tell you we are committed to reduce the cost of living. We are committed, because all these actions, there's some level of revenue loss, Mr. Speaker, to the country, and the economy must be strong enough to be able to accept these revenue losses and continue to provide the goods and services to the people of this country, Mr. Speaker. So I want to commend this amendment to the Parliament, and ask that and thank the merchants, and hope that they can pass it on to the consumers of this country, or they should pass it on, and I'm sure they will pass it on, Mr. Speaker, because this country belongs to all of us, Mr. Speaker. The country has taken a decision. The country has set the direction it wants to go. There is no maybe or might or must or probably or don't know. The country has taken a decision that it wants to go in that direction. It wants to follow that policies. It wants to follow. That is the country's decision. So all of us, we are ready to move forward together to work with everyone in this country so that we can progress and this country can become the best place to live and work in the region. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.